The sister wives' empire is crumbling into dust, and Janelle Brown has just delivered the final devastating blow that nobody saw coming. After 18 years of cameras following her every move, after nearly 3 decades of marriage to the most controversial polygamist on television, after watching her family implode in slow motion while the whole world watched, Janelle has done something that has sent shockwaves through the entire reality television industry. She has kicked the cameras out. She has kicked Kody out. And folks, she is not looking back. This is not a temporary break or a strategic pause to renegotiate contracts. This is a woman who has reached her absolute breaking point and decided that enough is enough. The announcement came like a thunderclap to devoted Sister Wives fans who have watched Janelle navigate the complicated waters of plural marriage since the show first premiered in 2010. Sources close to the production reveal that Janelle made her decision crystal clear in terms that left absolutely no room for interpretation. One insider put it bluntly, saying she told them she was done being a performing monkey for their entertainment. Let that sink in for a moment. The woman who spent nearly 2 decades sharing her most intimate moments with millions of viewers has finally slammed the door shut with such force that the entire franchise is shaking. Those familiar with the situation describe Janelle as completely transformed from the agreeable, go-along to get-along wife audiences have known for years. According to multiple reports, she has been quietly building toward this moment for far longer than anyone realized. The death of her son Garrison earlier this year appears to have been the catalyst that pushed her over the edge, forcing her to reevaluate every single choice she has made in her adult life. And when she looked at those choices through the lens of grief, she did not like what she saw, not one bit. The irony here is absolutely staggering when you think about it. Kody Brown built his entire brand on being the patriarch of a large, loving, plural family. He positioned himself as the progressive face of modern polygamy, the man who could successfully balance relationships with 4 wives and 18 children. And now, one by one, those wives have walked away from him. First, Christine announced she was done in 2021. Then Janelle made her exit official. Mary has been emotionally checked out for years, maintaining the legal fiction of marriage while living a completely separate life. Only Robin remains, and even that relationship shows cracks that seem to widen with every passing day. What makes Janelle's decision particularly devastating for the show is the finality of it all. This is not a cliffhanger designed to generate buzz for the next season. This is a woman who has genuinely, completely, irrevocably walked away from the circus that her life became. Sources say she has instructed her representatives to make clear that no amount of money will bring her back to filming. None, zero. She is finished with the performative aspects of her failed marriage and the constant dredging up of painful memories for public consumption. But the financial fallout from this decision reveals just how desperate the situation has become for everyone involved. The money question is the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address directly, but the numbers tell a devastating story. Sister Wives has been a cash cow for TLC and the Brown family for nearly 15 years, generating millions in advertising revenue and keeping the sprawling family financially afloat. Sources estimate that at the show's peak, the family was collectively earning somewhere between $25,000 and $40,000 per episode. With seasons typically running anywhere from 12 to 20 episodes, do the math, that is potentially $800,000 per season flowing into Brown family coffers. And now, with Janelle's exit, that revenue stream is in serious jeopardy. Insiders familiar with the production describe the network as scrambling to figure out how to salvage what remains of the franchise. One source close to TLC said executives are absolutely panicking because Janelle was the relatable one, the wife that middle America actually liked. Without her, they are left with Kody ranting about loyalty, Robin crying on cue, and Mary floating around the periphery like a ghost. And they are absolutely right. Janelle brought a groundedness to the show that balanced out the dysfunction. She was the practical one, the voice of reason, the wife who seemed most uncomfortable with the performative aspects of reality television. Viewers trusted her in a way they never trusted the others. The financial pressure this places on Kody specifically cannot be overstated. Reports suggest that his personal financial situation has deteriorated dramatically over the past few years. The Coyote Pass property that was supposed to be the promised land for the family remains largely undeveloped, with various plots sitting empty while property taxes continue to accumulate. His real estate ventures have reportedly underperformed, and now, with the show's future uncertain, the primary income source that has sustained his lifestyle for nearly 15 years is evaporating before his eyes. Let us be brutally honest here. Kody Brown is watching his financial empire collapse at the same time his family empire lies in ruins. What makes this situation even more complicated is the reported dispute over marital assets. Though Janelle and Kody were never legally married, their spiritual union lasted nearly 3 decades and produced 6 children together. Untangling those financial connections is reportedly proving far more difficult than anyone anticipated. Sources say Janelle has retained legal counsel to ensure she receives her fair share of assets accumulated during their time together, and those close to her say she is not backing down. One insider described her approach as ruthlessly pragmatic, noting she has seen how this man operates and is not about to let him walk away with everything while she struggles to rebuild her life. The contrast between Janelle's current financial strategy and her former accommodating nature is striking. For years, she was the wife who contributed her salary to the family pool without complaint, who lived in increasingly inadequate housing while Robin occupied the nicest home, who accepted decisions that clearly did not serve her interests. Those days are over. According to those familiar with her current mindset, Janelle has hired accountants to trace every dollar she contributed over the years and is building a comprehensive case for what she believes she is owed. She reportedly has documentation going back decades, and if the whispers are accurate, Kody is terrified of what that documentation might reveal about how family resources were actually distributed. The children's reactions to this family implosion have been nothing short of devastating to witness, and Janelle's kids have emerged as some of Kody's most vocal critics. Her sons in particular have been brutally honest about their feelings toward their father in ways that have made headlines repeatedly. Gabe Brown has been especially outspoken, describing his relationship with Kody as essentially non-existent and placing the blame squarely on his father's shoulders. In previous episodes, viewers watched Gabe express frustration and hurt that resonated with audiences who saw a young man grappling with paternal abandonment in real time. The loss of Garrison earlier this year has cast an even darker shadow over these family dynamics. Sources close to the family describe the tragedy as having shattered whatever fragile connections remained between Kody and Janelle's children. According to those familiar with the situation, Kody's behavior in the aftermath of Garrison's death has permanently destroyed any hope of reconciliation with his surviving sons. One source put it devastatingly, saying he showed up wanting to play the grieving father for the cameras when he had not been a real father to that boy in years. The kids saw right through it. Savannah, the youngest of Janelle's children, has also reportedly struggled immensely with watching her family disintegrate on national television. At just 18 years old, she has witnessed her parents' spiritual marriage crumble, her siblings' relationships with their father deteriorate, and her brother's tragic death, all while cameras documented every painful moment. Insiders say Janelle's decision to kick the cameras out was motivated significantly by her desire to protect Savannah from further exploitation. She looked at her daughter and realized she had already given too much of her children's lives to strangers' entertainment, and folks, she is absolutely right about that. The dynamics between Janelle's children and Robin's children have also reportedly deteriorated beyond repair. For years, the show presented a narrative of one big happy family where all 18 kids considered each other siblings regardless of who their mother was. That narrative has completely collapsed. Sources describe tensions between the two sets of children that run far deeper than typical sibling rivalry. Janelle's kids reportedly feel that Robin's children received preferential treatment for years while they were pushed aside. One insider claimed that family gatherings have become impossible because the resentment is so thick you could cut it with a knife. What makes this generational fallout particularly poignant is how it mirrors the collapse of the adult relationships. Just as Kody's spiritual marriages have crumbled one by one, his relationships with his older children have deteriorated in parallel. The children who remember life before Robin, who watched their father gradually shift his attention and affection toward his fourth wife and her kids, carry wounds that may never fully heal. Janelle's decision to remove herself and her remaining minor child from the show is in many ways an acknowledgement that some damage cannot be repaired on camera. But Kody's response to being kicked out of Janelle's life reveals a man who still does not understand how he destroyed everything he built. Kody Brown's reaction to Janelle's final rejection has been nothing short of pathetic to witness, and sources describe a man who remains utterly incapable of taking responsibility for his own failures. According to those close to the situation, Kody has oscillated between rage and self-pity since Janelle made her decision final. One insider described his response as completely unhinged, saying he keeps ranting about how ungrateful everyone is when he is the one who drove them all away. The lack of self-awareness is genuinely breathtaking. In recent seasons, viewers have watched Kody transform from the charming, somewhat goofy patriarch of the early years into something far darker. His comments about loyalty and obedience have taken on an increasingly authoritarian tone. His treatment of Christine during her departure bordered on cruel, and his apparent inability to understand why his children want nothing to do with him suggests a level of narcissistic disconnect that mental health professionals would find textbook. Allow me to translate his behavior into plain English. Kody expected unconditional devotion from everyone around him while offering conditional love in return. When that arrangement stopped working, he blamed everyone except himself. Sources say Kody has been telling anyone who will listen that he is the victim in this situation. He reportedly views Janelle's decision to kick out the cameras as a personal betrayal rather than the natural consequence of years of his own behavior. One person familiar with his current mindset said he genuinely believes he did nothing wrong and that his wives and children have been influenced by outside forces against him. He refuses to look in the mirror. And that refusal, that stubborn commitment to victimhood, is precisely why he finds himself increasingly alone. The contrast between how Kody has handled these departures and how his former wives have handled them could not be more stark. Christine has flourished since leaving, finding new love and building a life that brings her visible joy. Janelle has reconnected with her independent spirit, traveling in her RV and prioritizing her relationship with her children over maintaining a dead marriage. Even Mary, stuck in the strange limbo of being technically married to a man who does not want her, has carved out her own business ventures and support network. These women have moved forward. Kody remains stuck, raging against a world that no longer arranges itself to serve his needs. Reports suggest that Kody's relationship with Robyn has also suffered under the strain of the other marriages collapsing. The narrative that Robyn was the favored wife, that she somehow manipulated her way into Kody's heart at the expense of the others, has become impossible to ignore. Sources say Robyn has grown increasingly isolated as the other women have exited, leaving her to bear the full weight of Kody's attention, demands, and emotional instability. One insider put it bluntly, saying she got exactly what she wanted and now she has to live with the reality of being married to that man without anyone else to share the burden. Be careful what you wish for, indeed. But what the cameras captured during Janelle's final filmed confrontation with Kody reveals just how toxic things had truly become. The footage from Janelle's final confrontation with Kody is reportedly so explosive that producers debated whether it could even air, and the details that have leaked paint a picture of complete relationship annihilation. According to sources who witnessed the filming, Janelle unloaded years of suppressed frustration in terms that left crew members stunned. One production insider said it was unlike anything they had captured in nearly 15 years of filming this family. She said things that cannot be unsaid, and Kody just stood there with his mouth hanging open. The confrontation allegedly touched on every major grievance that had accumulated over their nearly 30-year spiritual marriage. Sources say Janelle addressed the favoritism toward Robyn directly and specifically, citing incidents that dated back over a decade. She allegedly confronted Kody about his treatment of their children, his absence as a father, his prioritization of his fourth wife's family over the children he had with his first 3 wives. According to those present, she held nothing back. Years of diplomatic, measured responses gave way to raw, unfiltered truth. What makes this confrontation particularly significant is that Janelle had previously been the wife least likely to cause public drama. Christine's departure was emotionally explosive, but expected given her increasingly visible unhappiness. Mary's emotional affair scandal years earlier had already severed the romantic connection in her marriage. But Janelle was supposed to be the steady one, the wife who prioritized peace and would never blow up the family dynamic. Her willingness to finally detonate that dynamic on camera suggests she had simply reached a point where maintaining appearances was no longer possible. Let that sink in. The most stable wife in the bunch finally snapped. Sources describe the atmosphere on set as uncomfortable in ways that made even veteran reality television producers shift awkwardly. The crew has documented plenty of family dysfunction over the years, but this was different. This was not manufactured drama or producer-manipulated conflict. This was the genuine, complete, final destruction of a relationship playing out in real time. One person present said you could feel the air leave the room when Janelle finished speaking. Everyone knew they had just witnessed something that could not be walked back. The irony that Janelle's most honest, most dramatic moment came right before she decided to quit filming entirely is not lost on observers. For years, she gave the show measured, thoughtful responses designed to maintain family harmony. The one time she let loose with everything she actually felt, she also decided it would be her last contribution to the franchise. According to sources, she told producers afterward that she had finally said her piece and saw no reason to continue the conversation on their terms. The door, as they say, is closed. But what insiders reveal about the production company's desperate attempts to keep her involved shows just how valuable she was to the entire operation. TLC executives are reportedly in full panic mode, and the desperate measures they have attempted to keep Janelle involved reveal just how essential she was to the Sister Wives franchise. Sources close to the production describe a series of increasingly generous offers that Janelle has rejected without hesitation. The network allegedly offered her a significant pay increase. They offered reduced filming schedules. They offered a separate spin-off focused entirely on her post-marriage journey. She turned down every single offer. One insider familiar with the negotiations said she told them her peace of mind is worth more than any check they could write. The production challenges created by Janelle's departure extend far beyond simple casting concerns. For years, the show's narrative structure relied on the interplay between the four wives and their varying relationships with Kody. With Christine already gone and Mary existing in marital purgatory, losing Janelle leaves the show with a fundamentally broken format. Producers are reportedly scrambling to figure out how to create compelling content with just Kody, Robin, and occasional appearances from other family members. According to those familiar with the situation, they are basically trying to rebuild the show from scratch while pretending everything is fine. The timing of Janelle's exit could not be worse from a business perspective. Reality television has become an increasingly competitive landscape, with streaming platforms and social media creating endless alternatives for audiences seeking family drama. Sister Wives drew its power from the novelty of its premise and the relatability of its cast members. Without Janelle grounding the show in practical reality, producers fear the remaining cast cannot sustain viewer interest. One industry insider put it bluntly, saying Robin crying and Kody complaining is not enough to build a season around. Viewers need someone to root for, and that someone just walked out the door. Reports suggest that other networks have approached Janelle about potential projects of her own. Though she has reportedly declined to pursue any immediate opportunities, sources close to her say she genuinely wants time away from the spotlight to process everything that has happened, particularly the loss of her son. The constant scrutiny of reality television stardom, the obligation to perform emotions for cameras, the pressure to generate drama for entertainment value, all of it became too much to bear. One person familiar with her thinking said she realized she had spent nearly 2 decades living for other people's entertainment and decided it was finally time to live for herself. The ripple effects of Janelle's departure on the broader reality television industry have not gone unnoticed. Her situation has sparked conversations about the human cost of long-running reality franchises, about what happens to cast members who spend decades under public scrutiny, about the ethics of documenting family dissolution for entertainment. Some industry observers have praised Janelle for prioritizing her mental health and family relationships over continued fame and income. She is setting a boundary that more reality stars should consider. One commentator noted, "But the question of what happens to Sister Wives without her remains unanswered, and the possibilities range from cancellation to complete format reinvention. The future of Sister Wives hangs by the thinnest of threads, and industry analysts are not optimistic about the show's survival prospects." Without Janelle, without Christine, and with Mary existing in a strange twilight zone between marriage and separation, the show has lost the ensemble dynamic that made it compelling in the first place. What remains is essentially the Kody and Robin show, and sources suggest that format has limited appeal to the audience that made Sister Wives a hit. One television analyst put it bluntly, saying audiences tuned in to watch plural marriage, not a regular dysfunctional couple fighting about the same stuff every other couple fights about. TLC has not officially announced the show's cancellation, but insiders describe the network as exploring all options, including a dramatic format shift that would focus less on the Brown family and more on other polygamist families. The problem with that approach, according to those familiar with the development process, is that 15 years of audience investment in the Browns cannot be easily transferred to strangers. Viewers have watched these children grow up. They have invested emotionally in these relationships. Starting over with a new cast would essentially mean creating an entirely new show, and in the current television landscape, launching new shows is expensive and risky. Reports suggest that Kody himself has pushed for continued filming, perhaps unsurprising given his financial dependence on the show's income. According to sources, he has pitched various concepts to keep the cameras rolling, including a focus on his relationship with Robin and his attempts to repair connections with his estranged children. The network's response has reportedly been lukewarm. One person close to the negotiations said executives pointed out that viewers are not particularly interested in watching Kody fail at the same things he has been failing at for years. Without new drama or genuine growth, there is no story to tell. The possibility of reunion specials or documentary-style retrospectives has also been floated, allowing the show to wrap up its narrative without committing to full season orders. This approach would give longtime viewers closure while limiting the network's financial exposure. Sources say some family members have expressed openness to this idea, though Janelle has reportedly made clear she would not participate in any capacity. Her departure is permanent and complete, according to those who know her well. She has no interest in revisiting the past for public consumption. What makes this situation particularly poignant is how it represents the complete failure of the social experiment Sister Wives was supposed to document. The show originally positioned itself as proof that plural marriage could work, that a family structured differently from the mainstream could thrive and love each other successfully. Nearly 15 years later, that thesis has been thoroughly disproven. The marriages have collapsed. The The family has splintered. The patriarch sits largely alone, surrounded by the wreckage of relationships he could not or would not maintain. And Janelle, the wife who tried hardest to make it work, has finally acknowledged that some things simply cannot be fixed. But her vision for life after reality television reveals a woman who has found unexpected peace in walking away from it all. Janelle Brown's plans for her post-television life paint the portrait of a woman finally embracing the independence she sacrificed for nearly 3 decades. And those close to her describe a remarkable transformation. Sources say she has thrown herself into her wellness business, her outdoor adventures, and most importantly, her relationships with her children. The Janelle emerging from the ashes of her failed spiritual marriage bears little resemblance to the accommodating, conflict-averse woman audiences watched on screen for years. One friend described it as witnessing someone wake up from a long sleep and realize they can live however they want. Her RV travels, which became a signature element of recent seasons, have reportedly expanded since stepping away from filming. Sources say Janelle has spent significant time exploring national parks, visiting friends across the country, and simply enjoying the freedom of having no one else's schedule to accommodate. For decades, her life was structured around Kody's rotating visits, the production schedule, and the needs of everyone except herself. Now, according to those who know her well, she wakes up each morning with no obligations except the ones she chooses. That is a kind of freedom she had not experienced since before her spiritual marriage began. The relationship between Janelle and Christine has reportedly deepened since both women left Kody, creating a sisterhood bond that persists even without the husband who connected them. Sources describe regular communication between the two former sister wives as they navigate their parallel journeys of post-plural marriage life. They have been through something that almost no one else can understand. One insider noted, "That creates a connection that will outlast any marriage." The irony of these women finding genuine sisterhood only after leaving the man who was supposed to unite them is not lost on observers. Janelle's focus on her surviving children has become her primary concern, and sources say she has committed to being present for them in ways that were impossible while juggling plural marriage and reality television demands. Her relationship with her sons Gabe and Gabriel has reportedly strengthened considerably. Her bond with Savannah remains her top priority, and she is reportedly working on healing family rifts that developed during the chaos of the past few years. According to those close to her, she has said that if she never accomplishes anything else in her life, being a good mother to her children will be enough. The mental health journey Janelle has undertaken since leaving Kody reportedly includes therapy, self-reflection, and the difficult work of understanding how she ended up in a situation that caused so much pain. Sources say she has been remarkably honest with herself about the choices she made and the warning signs she ignored over the years. She is not playing victim. One person familiar with her process explained, "She is taking ownership of her part while also holding Kody accountable for his." That kind of balanced self-examination suggests genuine growth and healing. But the legacy Janelle leaves behind on Sister Wives and what her departure means for the future of reality television families extends far beyond one woman's personal journey. The impact of Janelle Brown's dramatic exit will be felt throughout the reality television industry for years to come, and her decision to prioritize authenticity over income represents a potential turning point for how long-running shows handle cast welfare. For too long, reality television has treated its stars as infinitely renewable resources, documenting their lives until there is nothing left to document, then discarding them when audiences lose interest. Janelle's willingness to walk away on her own terms, to say that her mental health and family relationships matter more than another season of content, challenges that exploitative model at its foundation. Industry observers have noted that Janelle's departure comes at a moment when conversations about reality television ethics have reached new intensity. The mental health struggles of various reality stars across multiple franchises have sparked genuine concern about the psychological cost of long-term public exposure. Janelle's situation, losing a child while simultaneously navigating the collapse of her family on camera, represents exactly the kind of trauma that critics argue should prompt networks to exercise more care. That TLC apparently pushed to keep her filming even after Garrison's death suggests the industry still has far to go in treating its talent humanely. The Sister Wives franchise specifically leaves behind a complicated legacy that Janelle's exit throws into sharp relief. What began as a boundary-pushing exploration of alternative family structures devolved over time into documentation of dysfunction and dissolution. The show that was supposed to prove plural marriage could work became instead a cautionary tale about what happens when one person's needs consistently override everyone else's. Janelle's participation gave the show credibility and relatability. Her departure strips away any remaining pretense that this family represents successful alternative living. For Janelle herself, the legacy is far more personal and ultimately more hopeful. She spent nearly 30 years building a life around a man who, by all accounts, did not deserve her loyalty. She raised raised 6 children in circumstances that were often challenging and sometimes untenable. She maintained her dignity and her sense of self even as her marriage crumbled around her. And when the moment came to choose between continued fame and genuine peace, she chose peace. That is a legacy worth celebrating. The transformation of Janelle Brown from accommodating plural wife to independent woman charting her own course represents exactly the kind of growth that reality television rarely captures authentically. Usually, personal transformation on these shows feels manufactured, designed more to generate storylines than to reflect genuine human development. Janelle's evolution feels different because she is choosing to continue that evolution off camera, without the pressure of performing growth for an audience. She has become, in a way, the realest person to ever appear on reality television by acknowledging that real life happens best without cameras present. Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you will not believe what is coming next.